If I told you that 99% of people spend their entire lives inside an invisible cage and they don't even realize it, would you believe me? That cage is your thinking, your default mindset. And the day you step out of that cage and enter the God state, from that day onward, you simply can no longer think like the 99%. Today, I'm going to show you the exact shift that happens inside the top 1%. And unless you watch until the very end, you'll never discover the one thing that can permanently transform the way you think. First, let me ask you a simple question. How many times a day do you react, and how many times do you decide? Understanding the difference is important because this is where everything begins. 99% of people live their lives in reaction mode. Something happens, and they react. An emotion appears, and they react. Circumstances change, and they react. Their boss sends them a message, and they become anxious. They get stuck in traffic, and they become angry. Someone leaves a comment, and they spend the entire day thinking about it. Every external trigger produces an automatic response inside them, as if they are nothing more than a button that anyone can press at any time. But the 1%, the people who operate in the God state, have something different inside them. They have a gap, a pause between the stimulus and the response. That pause gives them control. That pause transforms them from an ordinary person into an operator, the operator of their own life, instead of merely being a passenger. This pause isn't a natural talent, it is a trained ability. Every single time you stop for just 1 second before reacting and ask yourself, how do I want to respond to this? You're building the very muscle that transforms you from a passenger into an operator. Quantum physics follows a similar principle. Until an observation is made, possibilities exist in wave form. They remain undefined. The moment the observer, you, focuses on one possibility, that possibility collapses into reality. Let's understand this idea a little more deeply. A particle can potentially exist in many places at once, but the moment it is measured, it settles into one definite state. Your life works in exactly the same way. Every day, every moment, countless possible reactions exist in front of you. Anger, patience, happiness, fear, confidence. Whatever you place your focus on, your observation, is what collapses into reality and shapes your next 5 minutes, your next hour, and eventually your entire day. In other words, your focus, your attention, literally shapes your reality. And 99% of people waste their attention on random things, notifications, other people's opinions, past mistakes, and situations they cannot even control. The 1% use their focus like a weapon. They consciously decide where their attention will go, and because of that, their reality remains under their control, not under the control of circumstances. Now this is where things start to go a little deeper, because once you understand the next concept, you will never take your environment lightly again. People who enter the God state realize one thing very quickly. You become whatever field you spend the most time in. This isn't just a motivational quote. It is a literal mechanism that shapes your thinking, your habits, your speed of decision-making, and everything else about you. Quantum field theory says that particles do not exist independently. They are fluctuations of an underlying field. Every particle is connected to that field, and the state of the field determines how the particle behaves. Human beings work in exactly the same way. Every person is connected to the field of their environment. The people around them, the information they consume, their daily inputs, and their daily conversations. You think you're thinking independently, but in reality, 90% of your thinking comes directly from your field, whether you realize it or not. 99% of people never control their field. They think whatever television tells them to think. They adopt whatever beliefs the group around them believes. The limitations of their family or friends quietly become their own limitations. Without even realizing it, they become victims of their field. They never notice that their environment has already set the ceiling for how high they can think. That is why you often see talented people remaining trapped in the same mindset as everyone around them. The field is so powerful that it often influences a person even more than individual willpower. The 1% design their field. They consciously decide, what will I listen to? What will I read? Who will I spend time with? Where will I invest my time? They carefully curate their daily inputs the way a scientist designs an experiment, because they understand one simple rule: garbage in, garbage out. They know that the moment their field changes, their identity automatically begins to change. When you upgrade your field with better books, better conversations, and better environments, your thinking naturally rises to the next level without requiring extra willpower. And once your identity changes, your decisions automatically become different. You no longer need motivation, because you've already become the kind of person who naturally makes those decisions. This is the real secret behind discipline. Discipline doesn't come from force. It comes from your field. In the right environment, making the right decision doesn't feel difficult. It simply feels natural, just like breathing. So far, we've talked about focus and field. But the real game begins here, because the next point reveals that the 1% experience time and identity in a completely different way. In quantum mechanics, there is a concept called superposition. A particle can exist in multiple states at the same time until it is measured. Until an observation is made, the particle carries all possibilities simultaneously. It is neither this nor that, but all possibilities at once. The same idea applies to human beings. Every person carries multiple versions of themselves at the same time. The version that stops because of fear, the version that stays inside its comfort zone, the version that constantly makes excuses, and the version that operates from the God state. Bold, calm, and unstoppable. All of these versions already exist within you in a state of superposition until you decide which version you are going to measure, which version you are going to make your reality. 99% of people keep measuring their old identity. They constantly replay their old mistakes, their old fears, and the labels they've carried for years. They keep reminding themselves, this is just who I am. This always happens to me. I'll never be consistent. Every time they repeat these thoughts, they measure that old version of themselves once again. And because of that, the same old version collapses into reality again and again, every single day. The 1% intentionally measure their future identity. Every day they ask themselves, what decision would the version of me who is already successful, already disciplined, and already unstoppable make right now? And then they make that decision, again and again, day after day. This is not fake it till you make it. This is the conscious collapsing of possibility into reality. You are literally bringing your future self into the present moment. And with every repetition, that future version becomes a little more real. That is why when someone truly enters the God state, everything about them begins to change. Their decisions, their body language, their energy. People say, you've changed, but the truth is, they didn't change. They simply chose a different version of themselves that had always existed within them. And they measured that version so many times that it eventually became their default reality. Because now they are operating from a different timeline. A timeline they created themselves through their repeated choices. If you're thinking this is only about mindset, then wait. Because now, we're arriving at the one thing that 99% of people never discover, and the very thing that keeps them trapped in waiting mode for the rest of their lives. The biggest secret of the God state is certainty, but not the kind of certainty that comes after proof. This is completely different from ordinary confidence. Normal confidence comes after results. The certainty of the God state comes before results. And that is exactly what makes it so rare and so powerful. 99% of people look for certainty after they succeed. Once I become successful, then I'll be confident. Once people appreciate me, then I'll believe in myself. That way of thinking is backwards. It keeps them trapped in a permanent state of waiting, and waiting mode is the default state of the 99%. They spend their entire lives waiting for some kind of sign, something that will finally give them permission to move forward. But that sign never comes, because certainty is not the product of results. It is the cause of them. The uncertainty principle in quantum mechanics tells us that you cannot know both the exact position and the exact momentum of a particle with 100% precision at the same time. Uncertainty is a fundamental part of the universe. It isn't a flaw. It is the very structure of reality. But here's what is fascinating. People operating in the God state are not afraid of uncertainty. Instead, they create their certainty within uncertainty. They understand that outcomes can never be completely guaranteed. But their response, their character, their effort, those are guaranteed. They tell themselves, I don't know what the result will be, but I know who I am, and I know how I will respond no matter what happens. That single sentence is the core of the God state. It permanently separates identity from outcome. This internal certainty is what makes them unstoppable. They never hand over control of their identity to external results. That is why when failure comes, they don't break, because their identity was never attached to the result in the first place. A business may fail, a relationship may end, a plan may completely fall apart, yet their answer to the question, who am I, remains exactly the same, completely stable, because it was never dependent on anything external. And that is the real difference between the 1% and the 99%. The 99% build their identity on results. The 1% build their identity on values and decisions. An identity based on results will always be fragile, because results are never completely under your control. But an identity based on decisions will always remain stable, because your decisions are always within your control. The moment this shift happens, the moment your identity is no longer dependent on outcomes, you have already won before facing any challenge, because your victory exists inside you, not outside of you. And the day this truth truly settles within you, nothing external, whether it's rejection, criticism, or failure, will ever shake you to the point where you can no longer rise again. Now, what I'm about to share with you is the most important part of this entire video, because this isn't just theory. It's a practical doorway into entering the God state. These are the 3 keys that transform every idea into action. Every quantum system has something called the observer effect. The act of observing changes the system itself. You are the greatest observer of your own life, and the way you observe yourself is exactly how your reality collapses into existence. That is why 2 people can experience the exact same situation and yet live completely different realities, because their observation is different. So if you truly want to enter the God state, there are 3 things you must practice every single day. And this isn't a one-time exercise. It is a lifelong practice. The first key: control your field. Make a conscious decision about what you consume, who you talk to, and where you invest your time. When your field changes, your identity naturally changes with it. Every day, ask yourself, what did I add to my field today, and what did I remove? The second key: consult your future identity. Before making any decision, ask yourself, what would the version of me I want to become do right now? And then do exactly that, even if it feels difficult at first. Apply this question to even the smallest decisions. What should you eat? When should you wake up? How should you respond? Every small decision is a vote for your future identity. The third key: make your certainty internal. Never place your identity on results. Place it on your values, your discipline, your character. Because those are the things that never collapse, no matter what happens outside of you. Whenever an external outcome shakes you, return inward and ask yourself, did I make the decision that aligned with my values? If the answer is yes, then regardless of the outcome, you have already won. The day you begin practicing these 3 things consistently, you will feel the shift within yourself. Your thinking, your reactions, your energy, everything will begin to change. You will no longer be able to return to the old patterns of the 99%. Because your observer has changed. You're no longer the person who reacts to circumstances. You have become the person who consciously collapses your own reality. That is the God state. And once someone truly enters it, they can never think like the 99% again. But don't leave just yet, because everything I've shared so far is only the foundation. The real transformation begins now. There is one thing that the 1% never tell anyone, because it feels almost like an unfair advantage. But today, I'm going to share it with you. Because if you've watched this far, then you deserve to become part of that 1%. In quantum physics, there is a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. It is a state in which two particles become so deeply connected that the state of one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Distance simply doesn't matter. When one particle changes, the other responds instantly, without any visible signal, without any delay. Scientists even called it spooky action at a distance, because it challenged the logic of classical physics. The same thing happens with human beings, but we call it resonance. When you operate from the God state, you don't just transform your own thinking. You also influence the people around you, your energy, your calmness, your certainty. All of these unconsciously transfer to others. Have you ever noticed that when you sit beside someone who is calm, you naturally begin to feel calmer yourself? And when you're around someone who is anxious, you start feeling anxious too. That isn't a coincidence. It is energy transfer, taking place silently, every moment, everywhere. The 99% underestimate this completely. They believe their internal state affects only their own lives. But the 1% understand that the moment they enter a room, the field of that room shifts because of their presence. That is why when true leaders walk into a room, everything becomes calmer, even before they say a single word. A CEO who has mastered his internal state remains calm even during a crisis, and the people on the team unconsciously absorb that same calmness. A parent who controls their internal state creates a feeling of safety for their children, even without explaining anything. This isn't magic. This is entanglement. The more you master your internal state, the more you naturally influence the state of the people around you, without forcing them, without manipulating them, simply through your presence. And with that comes a great responsibility, because just as your calm energy can make others feel calm, your anxiety, your fear, or your negativity can silently affect others as well. That is why living in the God state isn't only for your own benefit. It is also for the people who share your space. Now, the next concept may feel a little uncomfortable because it challenges something we've been taught since childhood. If you're open-minded, this part could completely change the direction of your thinking. In quantum mechanics, collapse occurs when an observation is made. But before observation, the system exists only as probability. Nothing is fixed. In other words, the future is never fixed until you collapse it through your belief. This concept has been widely debated in science, but its application to mindset is undeniable. 99% of people have already decided their future, without even realizing it. Just listen to the way they speak. I can't do this. This is just my fate. People are just like that. I'll always be this way. These sentences work like prayers. Every single day they collapse the probability of their future in a negative direction with every word they speak. And the most dangerous part is that they don't even realize they're doing it. These phrases are spoken so casually and so automatically that they quietly become their own self-fulfilling prophecy. The 1% use their language like a weapon. They never speak words that limit their identity, even during difficult times. Instead, they say, "This is difficult right now, but I'm learning from it. This is temporary. I'm the kind of person who handles situations like this." Every sentence they speak reinforces the future identity they have chosen, not the fear they are trying to escape. The difference isn't in the words. The difference is in the belief behind those words, and belief is the mechanism that collapses quantum possibility into physical reality. That is why people often say, you become whatever you consistently believe. Whether that belief lifts you higher or pulls you lower, it eventually becomes your reality. Belief is not a passive feeling. It is an active force that shapes your decisions, your body language, your ability to recognize opportunities, and ultimately, your entire life. Understanding this may become one of the most powerful moments of your life. Because the day you learn to control your language and your beliefs, you literally begin choosing your future timeline. This isn't an overnight process. It is a daily discipline, a practice where you catch every negative sentence, challenge it, and replace it with one that empowers you. Slowly, day after day, that new pattern becomes your new default reality. And now, the final and deepest concept, perhaps the true purpose of this entire video. If you've watched this far, then this message is for you. And it is something every person who wants to remain permanently in the God state needs to understand. Every quantum system naturally tends toward its lowest energy state unless an external or internal force moves it into a higher, more ordered state. In physics, this is also related to the principle of entropy. Systems naturally move toward a disorder unless they are consciously maintained in a state of order. Human beings have exactly the same tendency. We are naturally pulled toward comfort, routine, and familiar patterns unless a conscious decision lifts us into a higher state. That is why the God state is not permanent. It is like a muscle that must be maintained every single day. 99% of people feel motivated for one day, and the very next day they fall back into their old default state because they treated this state as an emotion, not as a system. They watch one inspiring video, stay excited for 2 days, and by the third day, they're back to their old patterns. Because nothing can be sustained without a system, no matter how powerful it may be. The 1% understand this difference. They know that the God state is not a one-time feeling. It is a daily choice. Every morning, they consciously enter it again. They check their field. They consult their future identity. They control their language. They refresh their internal certainty. For them, this has become as natural as brushing their teeth. They don't need extra motivation because it has become part of who they are. And throughout this entire process, there is one thing that matters more than anything else. You do not have to be perfect. You only need to notice when you begin slipping back into your old state, and then consciously collapse yourself back into your chosen reality instead of your default one. Falling is part of being human, but rising again quickly, that is true mastery. Every time you fall and rise again, you strengthen that muscle. The next time you fall, it happens a little less. And each time, you recover a little faster. That is real mastery. That is the secret of the God state. It is not a one-time transformation. It is a daily, intentional choice. And the person who learns to make that choice consistently can never think like the 99% again, no matter what circumstances they face. A quiet, unshakable certainty begins to grow within them, not because everything is perfect, but because they know they can always choose their state again in every situation. If this video helped you understand something new, write 1% in the comments below. And in the next video, we'll explore how to turn the God state into a daily routine you can actually live, step by step. If you truly want to enter the God state and leave the mindset of the 99% behind forever, then this video is only the beginning. Make sure to like this video so it can reach others who are still searching for their true identity. Subscribe to the channel because in the next video, we'll reveal the complete blueprint for turning the God state into a daily system, step by step. And if this video made a difference for you, share it with that one friend who is still struggling with the patterns of the 99%. This might be the turning point they've been waiting for. I'll see you in the next video, at the next level of your God state.